Today, I would like to discuss the topic of the prompt engineering and how AI can help businesses at scale if they really master prompt engineering. Why I think it's so important is because after having trained 500 professionals and business owners in the past year, I noticed that one of the struggles with the implementation of the artificial intelligence and the automations in small, medium, and large companies, something that can really boost their productivity by 2x to 4x easily, is the basic disbelief in the capabilities of the artificial intelligence for a few reasons. And one of them is that when we ask AI anything, although the answer that it gives may be quite profound, it's not structured. So we as humans don't feel as if we have control over the artificial intelligence. And this lack of control is something that is stopping people from moving forward with applying artificial intelligence to their business processes. And then the second belief that is stopping professionals and business owners is that the artificial intelligence is not smart enough. And in both cases, it all boils down to actually taming artificial intelligence. That's the term I coined because mostly it's not an issue of AI not being able to do enough. It's about AI being felt as something out of control. I'm going to share my screen to walk you through a few slides that explain a few key principles that are the most important for this conversation. So what you can see on this screen shows how AI is at the center of the business execution. So what we believe is going to happen in the next 12 to 24 months is that more and more business processes, maybe half of the entire business processes, will be actually executed by the artificial intelligence. It will entirely change how we think of the human role at work, because humans will not need to run the tasks on their own. The human role will shift to becoming the supervisor of the AI-driven execution of work, which ironically will later also be delegated to artificial intelligence as well, meaning that one set of the AI agents, or we tend to call them more and more often the AI employees, will be over supervising the work of another set of AI employees responsible for the direct execution of work. And for that to happen, we need to feed AI with enough context about every particular task. And this has to happen every time AI runs. So when you as a user are doing the prompting and conversation with anything like ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity, you're texting it something and you're receiving the output back. The texting in the business environment means that AI has to have the context about the strategies, policies, and libraries of different templates that you are using that is relevant for this particular task. The standard operating procedures explaining how exactly to get this job done step by step with checklists and so on. The tools in order for the AI to be connected to all the platforms that are relevant for this particular execution. Let's take the sales, for example. You can deploy, and it's the reality right now, that you can deploy an AI agent that can maintain the conversations with all your customers across different channels, being fully aware of all the previous conversations, because it would have access to your CRM system. And what your CRM system would have is the information about the client or prospect that AI is talking to, all the previous conversations, because every conversation has to be properly logged in the activities table. Then it would have the access to the standard operating procedure explaining how exactly to process the inbound message, or, for example, to send out the scheduled activity to the client. It would have access to strategies and policies explaining how exactly we do this from the perspective of brand alignment and the products and services that we currently have. And how does the funnel look overall? What are the rules for transferring a lead or a prospect from one status to another status, and so on. So all of this is possible if you give AI the access to the tools and the products like SaaS software where you are storing all of this information. And then there are other aspects as well, such as large and small language models, domain-specific models, different general transformer architectures that we are not touching a lot upon on this in these conversations because they're not relevant for 99% of the entrepreneurs. If you are in a regular brick and mortar or even the technology business, the left side of this diagram, it represents the components or the notions that are entirely sufficient for you to build or rebuild your company in a way that it's autonomous, it's run by the agents, the business runs itself or even flies, if you will, because I keep repeating this 4x increase in productivity is the reality in 2026. It's not a fantasy any longer if you implement artificial intelligence properly. So that explains what has to go into the input of the AI in order for it to provide you the right output. So what is AI in this context? It's nothing different than the system that runs the chats such as ChatGPT or Claude or anything else. All of these systems are already offering you the access to their AI that you can arrange programmatically through the API. And this AI, the same AI that services the conversations within ChatGPT or Claude or any other provider, can be employed to run your business. As a matter of fact, it all boils down to now how well can you create the prompts to instruct the AI on how to execute the task. And then the second one is connecting the systems so that it actually has legs in a way. How the autonomous execution would look like is you would organize the business processes to be run by the AI agents, where one AI agent would be responsible for one certain area of your company activities. So you could have an AI agent or just a few agents that can also talk to each other responsible for sales, for example. It would be equipped with artificial intelligence access, such as OpenAI's one that runs ChatGPT or any others, and it would actually process everything. Now, in order for it to process things, these things have to be part of the input for the model. The AI agent actually gets executed because it wakes up when the trigger appears. There are a couple of types of triggers that exist. You can set up something scheduled that would wake up the agent with a certain frequency and then run the task. Or it could be an inbound event. Say somebody has messaged you on WhatsApp, or you have received an email from someone, or another business process or AI agent asked this agent to perform the task. And this usually contains a payload of information about this particular execution. The example of the sales conversation, it would be who exactly messaged us, what did they write, what did they respond to, and so on. This is part of the input for the AI processing. But it's not enough because the AI agent would then access the tools and systems within your enterprise. We call this memory for an agent, but it's nothing else than connectivity to your CRM system, to your messaging software, and then anything else that is necessary for it to extract the information from and then write the information down. So it takes all the information about this prospect's previous communications, probably the quality score or the probability score that was also generated by another AI agent. It pulls all company data in terms of what campaigns you're running, what services and products you're offering currently, what is the brand language that sits somewhere as a system policy. And then it assembles all of this and sends it to ChatGPT's AI saying, hey, please, according to all these standard operating procedures and all the policies that I've pulled out, process this particular message with this prospect and then respond back to him or her with a response according to all the guidelines. And your AI agent will do this. And this repeats thousands and thousands of times per day. If you have hundreds or thousands of the conversations, what is going to happen every time is an AI agent will pull up this information, analyze what was received, and send out the answer. And will probably notify a responsible human in the end of the day with the statistics of what has been done during the day and any actions that have to be escalated to a human. And again, in this example, there are two major jobs to be done. One is the connectivity of these tools and softwares that you're using. And another one, and surprisingly, it's a talent that every manager can develop, and they don't need to have the technical skill for that, is the context management, the ability to pull this information from the trigger event, all the relevant info from the databases that already exist within your company. And again, the connectivity is organized by the technical team. We do this, by the way, we develop these AI agents day and night. So it's not a problem. You'll get this done. But what you can do as a manager and where you can excel at is at creating an instruction or a prompt for this AI agent to do its work exceptionally well. And again, that's a skill that almost everyone can master in 2026 and will probably be the most valuable skill for your current work, for the business that you work on, because it will boost the productivity of the business, but also probably the best entries in your educational section on LinkedIn, because that is just something that is boosting the careers, and everyone who is hiring in 2026 is expecting for people to know artificial intelligence. So how do we actually create good prompts? There is no golden standard for how exactly the prompts should look like, but I would like to walk you through a few approaches and principles to it. So first of all, there are a few approaches that you can inject in your prompt to make the result better and more predictable. And one of them is the few shot prompt. It's a prompt where you are actually given an example of the output. And by that, you're guiding AI in terms of how it should process the incoming information and put it in a way that you want. The second one is the role-based prompt. So you are asking AI to act as a certain type of specialist, or you can even inject a name of a person that you would like it to act. To give an example, when I have anything product related or marketing strategy related, I will typically ask it to act as a Steve Jobs, just because I love his approach to work, and because AI has been trained on the entire knowledge of the humankind. We know a lot about Steve Jobs' approach to work. It will actually infer this approach and will use it to tackle this particular task. In the business environment, we do this all the time. So in the beginning of the system prompt that governs the agents, what we tend to do is to say, you are an AI agent responsible for this and that area in the company. You're equipped with these skills. And then we fully unfold what exactly it has to do and in accordance to which companies, within which sequence of steps, and so on. Now, another approach is style prompt. This is where we explain the AI how exactly we want the output to be styled. I think it's pretty obvious. Then another one is the self-ask prompt. So with this, you want the AI to either infer the questions before providing the answers, the questions that do matter for the unfolding of the whole situation that it has to process, or you could provide the questions on your own. So you would guide the AI to think in the aspects that are the most important to you. Then another one is rephrase and respond prompt. This one helps the AI to actually improve its reasoning, because it will infer certain assumptions and will internalize the request from a user, and the output will be more profound. Another approach to use in the prompt is the chain of thought prompt. This is where you are either asking it to think step by step, just the injection of this phrase step by step will trigger more reasoning from the AI, or you will provide it with the steps in which it should unfold and develop its thinking. And I will show you one pretty sophisticated prompt where we do this. We employ this chain of thought approach to describe a really sophisticated workflow that an AI agent has to do. And then basically you take these approaches and you stitch them all together. So in case you want a really predictable result from the AI, your prompt could easily look like this. It has 6 approaches in it. It consists of 6 paragraphs. And I can tell you that this is only the smallest possible prompt that is feasible in the business environment. If you want really predictable results, you need to go much further than that in order to develop the system instructions and the AI agents that will work really efficiently. So I would like to head over to some of the system instructions that we use to drive the AI agents in our own environment. We have the same setups for our clients as well. So it will be very typical for almost every deployment. I'm headed over to Relevance AI, which is one of the platforms where we have these AI employees working for us. I'd like to show a few agents in terms of the system instructions that they use. Here is one of them. It's the director SMM agent that does the autonomous screening of the news, selection of the news, repurposing of them, to create the branded content and generate the images for social media and the website blog for companies, and then autonomously connect to the social media accounts and post them. And the beauty of this agent is that it can basically run as frequently as you wish. And you can basically deliver the news every half an hour to your audience if you wish. This shows how AI can do the work in the volume that human is not capable of. And you would need to scale your team 5x and have a lot more managerial overhead if you wanted to organize the news delivery every half an hour. And mind you, this all with the branded images. So you'd need to have a few more designers to crop these images with the immediate response and so on. This system prompt describes the role where we say, you're an expert social media marketing director agent with particular knack for managing sub-team of SMM agents to ensure the content delivery. We give it the objective, we explain the context of this task, and we give it a standard operating procedure. As you can see, the procedure is a step-by-step description with a set of steps that have to happen. Some of these steps instruct the AI agent to call the sub agents that it has the access to. One of the features of the AI agents is they can call each other and they can get organized into the entire teams collaborating. And it explains how a blog post agent has to be called in order to screen the news online and create the blog entry. It will not post yet, but it will just create the news itself based on the screening online. Then after that, the image will be generated based on all the semantics, all the particular details of that news. Some of the news content will go into the image itself, and I will show the prompt for this particular agent. We'll go into the delegation of the work to the LinkedIn agent, Telegram agent, Instagram agent to do their particular parts. They will take the editorial version of the news created by the blog post agent and redo it so that it fits the formats and the requirements and the best practices for the respective platforms to post on. And then after that, the reporting of the news posted will happen using Google Sheets so that a human manager has all the information in the grand picture in terms of what's happening. But from our own experience, this workflow is working so flawlessly that the only touch point that we need to have with it is actually the final result. And what I mean is we as a users go to our social media profiles and we just read the news same as everybody else. Only once in a time we need to go and check if the authorization to LinkedIn is still working. But other than that, these things just run on the autopilot. Next, I would like to head over to the workforce to show you how these agents are intertwined and connected in one team. As you can see, it's the hierarchy that reminds us of the human hierarchy. It's nothing different and makes the most sense. I mentioned triggers earlier that you can install the recurring schedule where you can say how often it has to run. It runs twice per day in our case. And it can be also triggered by the user message inside of the system. And then every time it's triggered, and again, you can change it to be even minutely, if you will. So some business processes, they are required to be run every minute. You can do that as well. And I bet no human can compete with AI in terms of the frequency of the execution of work. These agents are forming the team. The director SMM agent has these other ones as the subordinates, which is fantastic. It's the way almost any task execution or informational flow has to work for it to be efficient. And now heading over to the image generation tools, because this tool contains a system instruction or a prompt that is on a more sophisticated side of the spectrum. Here we have a step where AI is taking the news that it has to generate the image based on, and then it will process this news and decide which theme out of the library of the templates it has to pick based on the sentiment analysis, the sub-audience that this news will be best perceived or will be the most relevant for, then inject the details from that news into the images themselves. And this is the example of such a system instruction that frankly took us maybe like 24 hours to develop, but it was totally worth it because it substitutes the entire full-time employee of the designer. It also has the role injection in it. It says you're an editorial arts director for Adaya's AI news visuals. We explain what is the input that it will receive. So it will receive the industry news. And then we explain the task on how exactly it has to generate the final prompt for the image generation through this process. The extraction of the information from the news, such as entities, categories, numbers, who is affected, emotional valence, platform intent, extrapolation of the news. So what are the implications? What is the most likely audience reaction to the news? What are the risk flags? Then scoring of the themes based on the criteria to identify which theme is the most suitable for this particular news. And then after that, we instructed to include the Easter eggs that are relevant, enforce mobile eligibility, make sure there is no real trademarks or logos, and so on. We give it the theme making rulebook. So one of the ways to enforce a certain categorization or decision making whatsoever is to describe it as a rule set. So here we enlist the themes and we say which categories of news would be the best fit for this theme. That is one of the ways how we enforce the theme selection, but we don't stop there, because we also provided the orientation ways in tie breaks of the global principles, the priority matrix. Then after that, we do the weight adjustments because we want the variability of the themes in the final output. We also use another way to explain how the themes have to be chosen. We give the examples. We give more than 10 examples, 15 in this case, of different news, where every news has the title and then what theme was chosen for this news and why exactly it was chosen. So as you can see, we've already used 3 ways to teach artificial intelligence on how to select the news. Every of the themes for our news have their own description of the template and how to work with this template. And the AI will inject the title, the small object, subtitles, of the description of the main object of the image to be generated. All of that will come in here and will be part of the final image generation prompt. And then as the output of this, we are getting something that I think senior designers would take a lot of time to generate. And we have the luxury of doing this many times per day continuously. And if you check out our Instagram, LinkedIn, and Telegram, you will be able to witness the results of this work. This instruction, which takes 400 lines, give or take, was a result of the series of trials and errors where we tried one instruction, we fed it a few examples of how we want the work to look like. So we reverse engineered it. By the examples, we were able to generate the first prompts. We were not happy with the results either. We had to provide it feedback. We had to change things. And only through these loops of trials, we were able to get to where we are right now. And most of the professionals are stopping even before they have tried building these kinds of prompts. And I assure you, if you really spend 3 days on describing how exactly a certain piece of your work can be automated and be really detailed about every aspect of it, if you treated AI as an employee whom you have to hire and onboard and explain how things get done in your company, if you did that, you would have amazing results in your business. And so with that, that's probably all I wanted to touch upon today. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them below. Join our community, join the further Q&A sessions where you are able to ask your questions. This goes entirely for free right now. And this is what we contribute back to the community in order to make more people successful and fulfilled in their life with the help of artificial intelligence and autonomy. I think that's it. We'll wrap up here. Yeah, until next time.